up to now, I can't believe that this gambit is still confusing a lot of people. I mean, it's still unknown to many, which should be a sign of a good gambit. If you want to watch my first tutorial video on this dangerous gambit, you can watch the video that has popped up in the card above, or simply find my playlist's link in the comment section down below. So for now, it's time to continue testing this gambit against real players, and I'm sure you're going to be excited for what you're about to see. Right, so time for the modern gambit. I hope my opponent is going to decline this gambit, otherwise I'm not going to upload this if he accepts. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Now we are talking. Here we see the decline variation on the board finally. And so what I like doing against this is to simply go pawn to d6, so that if f4 is played, I can just take. If you want to see all my strategic plans from here, make sure to watch the video that I recommended in the intro. So after d6, d takes e5, I plan to go knight e7, over controlling the d5 square. By the way, I'm playing this game in Zen mode, which is the leech's feature to hide your opponent's ratings and their names, so that you don't just get intimidated and concentrate 100% on the game rather than your opponent. So after f takes e5 by white, I played pawn to d6 and my opponent now played knight to f3. So I intend to go knight e7. My queen's knight will sit on c6 someday, followed by a6, pawn to b5, bishop b7, and that's all part of my plans. So knight e7 now. Oh, and there we see a very strange move that is almost new to my eyeballs, because I don't remember covering this in my tutorial video. So bishop g5 is a strange move, attacking my knight on e7, but I guess I just have to develop my dark squad bishop, and then later play knight bc6 and pawn to s6. Again, for future reference, I'm going to play b5 followed by bishop b7. But for now, let me first attend to where the problem is. And I guess the other idea of bishop g5 by white is to plant the bishop on f6. So I need to play bishop g7, I think, just stopping bishop f6 in advance, because I'm just going to take and play knight e5, taking back the pawn on f6. So we plan in advance at the end of the day. So bishop d3 again, bishop d3, I was expecting that. So I guess I gotta go pawn to h6, yep, attacking the bishop. And if, yep, bishop f6, I talked about this. I think the idea is just to take. I can just take that dark squad bishop, then play knight e5 and castle short. So bishop takes. And then knight e5 next. So based on my opponent's moves so far, I would say is somewhere rated between 1900 and 2000. But let's see what else my opponent can do. I mean, this is not my final prediction though. Oh, knight e5 is a blunder. It hangs a pawn on d4. So my opponent should be rated below 1800. Worst of knight takes. No. Now this can be someone rated below 1800. Or let me just say between 1700 and 1800. Based on what I have seen now. By the way, the knight is trapped. White can't just rescue this knight. So this is one beauty about... Wait. White just hanged his queen. This is a blunder, and he just resigned. And it turns out I was almost close with my prediction. I said my opponent was rated between 1700 and 1800. At some point, I said maybe 1800 and 1900. So not much of a stretch. I'll still take that as a right guess. By the way, how do I know my opponent's level of strength? How do I tell their ratings? By just looking at their moves. Guys, we are talking about experience here. I've played chess for over 20 years now at different levels. So I know how a typical 1800 rated player plays, and I kind of know what to expect against a 2100 and 2200. So at the end of the day, the responses can tell. Anyway, that's none of your business. Now, it's time to analyze the game so that I can see where my opponent went wrong. So back on move 12, I was expecting my opponent to castle short or play something like knight c3 instead of what they played. But even after that, I was just going to castle short, putting my king to safety and put it on g7 maybe. And following my strategic plans, which I shared in my tutorial video, I was still going to play pawn to b6 and put my light squad bishop on b7 instead of going a6 and b5. And this is what we call the superseding concept in chess. So knight c6 was also a move that I was considering in the middle game later. But anyways, it is what it is. But to my surprise, my opponent played knight e5, which hanged a pawn on d4. The pawn on d4 became weak, and I instantly saw that he was attacking my pawn on g6, which didn't matter at all, because after I took the pawn on d4, not only was I attacking the knight, but I was also attacking the pawn on b2. Maybe white should have played something like queen e2, defending both the pawn and the knight, but I don't see this to be much of a deal. I would have just developed my queen's knight, putting more pressure on the e5 knight, and after knight takes g6, let's say, I was still going to go rook g8, somehow trapping white's knight. And yeah, I think white's knight was still going to be trapped. Oh, but white had bishop takes f5, because I wasn't going to be able to take with my pinned pawn, but I was just going to play e5, indirectly attacking white's bishop on f5. So after something like bishop c2, for example, the knight was going to be under attack after bishop g4, and then castle long in the near future. And I'm just trying to apply as much pressure as I could. Let's say queen d2. After queen d2, I think I was just going to develop my a rook by castling long, and I guess I was going to emerge with a superior position. So after queen d2, once again, I could still play rook a d8. I think that looks more promising, because after queen takes, I could have taken on d4 with my knight and then attack the light squared bishop, put more pressure on the g6 knight. If bishop a4 check, I had pawn to b5, and let's say if white played bishop d3, I was just going to play pawn to e4 and win the knight on g6. So you can see that even if white didn't blunder his queen at the end, I was still going to, somehow win this game, because I was having a superior position. But this is how the game ended. I played rook g8 at the end, and white's knight on g6 was trapped, as it had no any safe squares to go to, as you can see. So at the end of the day, it's the potential to attack and the fact that this gambit is so unknown in the chess circles, which is one thing I love about this. Most of my opponents seem to run out of ideas, and they seem to be confused, not knowing the right way to defend against my modern gambit. And so never should you feel discouraged of playing this gambit, or never should you feel scared. And so in closing, I would love to play a bullet match as a bonus for this video, just to have some fun and entertain your eyeballs. So I won't do any commentary here, just sit back and enjoy watching my bloody moves. Anyway. Be sure to hit the like button, share this video if you can, and let me know what you think in the comment section. Subscribe to this channel if you're new. Until next time, bye bye.